Welcome to the Fear and Greed Business News Afternoon Report for Monday, the 21st of August, 2023. I'm Sean Aylmer. Every afternoon, we've got the 5 stories that happened today that you need to know about. Story number 1, the S&P ASX 200 closed down 0.5% today to 7,116 points. That's on top of the 2% plus drop last week. Like last week, most of the big movers reflected earnings results. Otherwise, CSL was a poor performer, dropping 1.4%. The banks generally underperformed. Westpac tumbled most, more on that shortly, while Commonwealth Bank, ANZ and National Australia Bank all ended lower. Telstra, Rio Tinto, QBE and James Hardie all underperformed the market. Some of the better performers, of the large caps at least, included Aristocrat Leisure, Santos and Woodside. Wesfarmers did pretty well, so too Fortescue Metals Group and Macquarie. Story number 2, Westpac made a net profit of $1.8 billion during the June quarter, saying there's been a modest deterioration in bad debts and a jump in expenses reflecting inflationary pressures. Significantly, there was also a contraction in lending margins due to mortgage competition. Its core net interest margin, essentially the difference between what it pays on deposits and receives on loans, was down slightly for the quarter, showing that even though interest rates are rising, competition in the mortgage market is fierce enough to keep a rein on profits. The results in line with expectations, but the bank's share price fell nearly 3% today, with big investors noting the higher cost growth. The number of mortgage customers in Australia who are more than 90 days overdue on loan repayments rose a touch, and the bank recorded some higher stressed loans in the property, retail and agricultural sectors. Story number 3, there are big changes afoot at Premier Investments, owner of Peter Alexander, Smiggles, Just Jeans, Portman and Jackie E, with relatively recent Chief Executive Richard Murray leaving the business. Looks like major shareholder Solomon Lew is getting set to shake up the retailer and is considering splitting Premier into 4 separate companies, potentially demerging Smiggle and Peter Alexander. Big investors say the corporate structure of Premier is holding back both retailers, and they like today's announcement, pushing the group's share price up 13%. Analysts speculated that the departure of Murray, who was formerly boss of star retailer JB Hi-Fi until he joined Premier 2 years ago, reflects a divergence between Murray and Lew about the direction of the group. Meanwhile, the company upped its earnings guidance, with sales up for the 12 months to the end of July by nearly 10%. Story number 4, BlueScope will spend $1.2 billion relining its blast furnace at its Port Kembla Steelworks, saying old school steel making is with us for at least another decade. Australia's largest steelworks boss, Mark Vassella, said large-scale commercial production of low-carbon steel is still at least a decade away, with more breakthroughs in technology needed. He also added that momentum to cut emissions in the steel industry was greater now than he thought would have been the case 2 years ago. The company said net profit for the year to the end of June tumbled 64% to $1 billion on the back of falling steel prices and profit margins compared to last year's record. The US operations had a poor year, but by contrast, the Colorbond steel roofing products business delivered record sales. Overall, its share price rose 3.5% today. And story number 5, Donald Trump will skip this week's first Republican presidential debate, arguing that Americans know him well, so there's no need for a public showdown with his rivals for the White House. In a message on his platform Truth Social, Trump touted what he called a hugely successful record as president and what he described as his popularity among the American people. That's according to AFP. The first debate in the race for the 2024 Republican presidential nomination is scheduled for Wednesday night US time. In his post, Trump noted the latest in a wave of polls showing him in front of the rest of the Republican field. A CBS News poll over the weekend said 62% of those polled for the survey would vote for Trump, even though he has been indicted 4 times this year. That's it for the afternoon report for Monday, the 21st of August, 2023. Michael Thompson and I will be back tomorrow morning with the Tuesday edition of Fear and Greed Business News. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your evening.